As advertised this morning, we're going to be turning our attentions now to the issue in Bawku, or shall I say the issues in Bawku. Dr. Adam Bonaa is a security analyst and he joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Doc.
Good morning to you and your listeners.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning.
You are welcome.
Now, just last week, we got very disturbing reports of gunfire exchanges and the like in Bawku. Now, with some 5 persons dead, a bus containing trainee nurses attacked, a town living in fear, everything at a standstill. What is the way forward in Bawku? How do we bring some finality to the fracas which has robbed us of the much-needed peace we need in this country?
Well, and also a bus fired upon yesterday in Bawku around 10 a.m.
Right.
So it's become a daily occurrence where, bandits and criminals, in the name of chieftaincy, in the name of a tribal war, in the name of a chieftaincy war, have taken up to arms. And now they've shifted from light weapons to bombs. A rocket-propelled grenade, which is a bomb, was they captured some persons with a rocket-propelled grenade, and so it means that the war or the conflict keeps shifting. Now you cannot. You can't move out of Bawku, or you can't go into Bawku unescorted. The way forward, I have said it repeatedly, the way forward is for the indigents of Bawku, the natives of Bawku, who by some of them, their utterances, calling for peace, to identify some of their own who have picked up arms and fighting, other indigents and fighting the military and the police and the rest. But the mere call for peace will not bring peace. Peace is not something that you begin and it's in one way or the other would have to end. No, you have to put in pragmatic measures. But unfortunately, the call for peace by the indigents themselves, if you ask me, some of it has largely been empty, because then the people who have picked up arms amongst them and fighting and killing people live with them. If you cannot call for peace when you know your next door neighbor or your brother or your sister has an AK-47 loaded with bullets under your bed, that would amount to serious hypocrisy. And so mine is that the call for peace must be backed with evidence that themselves have started reporting one another. If not, it doesn't matter what anybody does. You can send all our military, our police, you can send all the state resources we have in Bawku, and you cannot bring about peace in Bawku. If you know the war in Afghanistan, the Americans decided to go and change the way of life of the Afghans. The Afghans refused. America has the largest war materials in the whole world. They could not cow the Afghans. The Americans have to run and leave the Afghans alone. Once the Afghans were not interested in the American style of democracy, it was just a matter of time before the Americans left. And so, trying to liken that to Bawku, if the people of Bawku want peace, the rest of us will help them to bring about peace. But if you start with them, it looks like everybody seems to be tired. And I have said it repeatedly, let's not mince words.
Right.
Let's ask the people of Bawku, what are you doing, the natives of Bawku, the Kusao people, the Mamproses, the Moses, the Bises, the Fulani, the Fula people, those of them living in Bawku, whether you are an indigent or you are not, what are they doing to bring about peace? Because at the moment, you see, the strategy of using the military, using the police, using the states to try and do some of these things, we've done it for several decades. It worked partially, it hasn't worked. And now it's degenerated into an all-out war, which is not helping anybody. And so for me, if you ask me, I would say that let's start with them, but we have to also look at how the state involvement in trying to bring peace to Bawku.
In fact, that was going to be my next question, because we know that some of the security personnel have been in Bawku for years. And as it stands now, you could describe Bawku as a militarized zone. So with the issue of guns, if we have the military station there for a number of years, we're told that quite often there are searches conducted in the homes, in certain homes or across the board in Bawku. Why do we still have this issue of guns if the military has been there for so long and is conducting these swoops and checks?
You know, Bawku is a border town.
That's right.
Okay, good. And you know what is happening in Burkina.
So threats of terror, you say, and our porous borders are an issue?
Correct, 100%. And also we have inland, within Ghana, trucks that are loading into Bawku. Some of them have been caught with firearms entering Bawku. We have trucks that load from Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, that go through Ghana or come into Ghana through the Sankasi area. So these trucks also sometimes also bring in firearms. The borders are porous. It is just if you are within that area, you will not actually even notice there is a border, because the official border is there. But unapproved routes, people are farming into Burkina. The Burkinabés are farming into Ghana. And so it's just a walk. People who had cattle, they had the cattle in and they had them out. And so it's something that will be difficult to say you are going to actually stop illicit firearms coming in. The only way you can stop it would be by the use of intelligence. But if you are going to use plainclothes police and military officers, come on, it will be difficult. And some of us have proposed that, you see, let's get state institution officers like nurses, like teachers, like, mention the GRA officers, electricity workers, get them trained to be, on the field, what do you call that? Intelligence officers. It is another unconventional way of getting intelligence, the much needed intelligence, because they are with the people. You train them how to gather intelligence, analyze the intelligence, and share that intelligence that will lead into arresting criminals with the evidence. But once you don't do that, then once a while you send in military officers or you station military officers there. The people know this when they see an armored car driven by the military. They see it. When they see an armored car on patrol, common sense will tell everybody that criminals, once they see the military coming, would hide their weapons. But if you have electricity workers who go into a home to go and fix, let's say, electricity, and they've been trained to pick intelligence as intelligence officers, and they are paid something very little for the second job they do. Once you do that, they are going to be giving you valuable information. Nurses work at the hospitals.
That's right.
People would come with bullet wounds. People would come and be speaking in language that they are discussing. Once I leave, I'll come and help you so that we'll go and burn this house or go and do this. The nurses sometimes will be afraid to share that information. But once they have been trained how to share the information without your cover being blown, that will be another way of doing it. But you see, let me add that 2022, I was part of the delegation that went to Bawku. We left Accra by the military Casa plane. By 6 a.m., we had left. We landed in Tamale en route by the military chopper to Bawku, the 11th mechanized, units, the units there in Bawku. We landed there. They did the debriefing. Then we went into Bawku town to meet the Bawku Naba. We met the youth of the Kusasis. We met the leaders, the regent of the Bawku, what's the name? The Kusasi, the Mamprosi side. Met the Mamprosis youth. They promised us that we won't hear any gunfire for 3 months. For 3 months, no fowl died in Bawku. No ants was killed in Bawku. We, in return, promised them that we will come back in 3 months. In return, the state security policy makers, from the defense, from interior, from, those who are supposed to be making sure when we sleep, promised.
Right.
I was there. Promised that in 3 months, we are going to come back. How many years now? We haven't gone. No one has gone back there. How many years now? Nobody has gone back there. So mine is that the state itself is also, complicit when it comes to this conflict in Bawku. The state is an accomplice when it comes to the carnage. When I did my checks as to why we are not going back, because if we don't go back, and I predicted what is happening, unfortunately. I predicted that this thing is going to get out of hand if we don't go back.
Right.
I told them that, if the defense ministry and the interior people will be honest with you, I told them that if we don't go back, this thing will still dome for all of us. We need to go back because we had the first dialogue and we promised them, and they said we will be waiting for you to come back so that we can continue with the dialogue whilst we look for lasting solution to this carnage in Bawku. Unfortunately, when I asked why can't a second trip be planned, they said there is no money.
No money.
No money. Yes, they said no money. They said no money. It means we actually don't have. You guys are in the media.
Right.
Ask your reporters to check with the Ministry of Finance whether they have allocated any money apart from the money they give to the money they send there for rations and payment of allowances for police and military.
And military, yes.
And the rest. Ask them whether they have any money they have allocated in the budget for dialogue and for peace building, even on the part of the state, not for CSOs, but on the part of the state.
Right.
Whether they have any budget allocation where they say that we are going to do 4 or 5 trips to Bawku by the powers that be, Interior Minister, Defense Minister, National Security, IGP, CDS, going into Bawku with their entourage to go and meet them again and continue the dialogue.
Very important.
There's no budget. So there is no way you are doing these things, fighting what is going on in Bawku. It's an act of war that is going on in Bawku.
You describe it as an act of war.
Yes.
Look, right.
Yes, it's an act of war. But it's an act of war. If it's not an act of war, you will not find rocket-propelled grenades there. Some of them will not be firing at the military. You won't see security officers dying in Bawku. Show me, apart from the Nanumba Dagbon conflict, where we had, but that has been resolved.
Right.
Apart from that, do we have any occasion where we have had this sustained carnage in any community? Sustained carnage. Every day is another story. At the moment, when they will chase them into this side and the bandits will run into that side. So it's a guerrilla war they are fighting in Bawku. So you cannot. How can you be in Bawku and the Kusasis cannot cross into Mamprosi area? Mamprosis cannot cross into the Kusasi area. And the soldiers themselves, you have to be careful when you are doing patrols because they could fire at you at any time. So mine is that, fortunately, when we did that thing, they told us that 3 months, no gunfire will be heard in Bawku. And for 3 months, there was no gunfire. What happened subsequently is another story altogether. Because when we told them that, some of us, I continuously pushed them behind the scene that, you see, we need to go back. And the truth is that the guy who has the pen and the checkbook, the Ministry of Defense, Finance, Ministry of Finance, that has the pen and then the checkbook to sign and say, okay, we are going to allocate, let's say, 2-3 million cedis for maybe 2-3 for a trip, for dialogue to go on so that you can go with the resources. Because at the end of the day, if they don't have a budget to go, you don't have a budget. And as we speak, have you heard the president himself talk about Bawku?
No, I have not.
You haven't heard the president talk about Bawku? I haven't heard the president. I am within security space. Some of us, we play a role within the space. The president himself is yet to comment when it comes to Bawku. And what I'm saying is that the president's comments would be good, but we also need that particular promise to the people of Bawku that we will come back after 3 months. We went there 2022. We went there 2022.
And yet that second visit never materialized.
It never. By this time, we should have. There should have been maybe 10 trips to Bawku.
That's right.
You will be gathering intel. You will be telling them, kindly calm down. We will do this. You continuously work with them. But when we sit in Accra and we think that everything is fine, they are firing at soldiers. Soldiers are firing at them.
That's right.
People are dying needlessly. Someone will get into Bawku town and take a weapon and spray onto people like animals. Just spray. Gorilla war. That is what is going on now. Just spray onto firing at what's the name? Fire service. Tanks.
Now,
yes.
That's right.
They are unimaginable things are going on in Bawku. But when you are in Accra, you won't know what is going on. Like I said, it needs a concerted effort from everybody, including they themselves, the Bawku. That is why I premised my interview, whatever I had to say. I started with the people of Bawku.
That's
because
right.
they live there and they know the pain and the anguish, what they are going through. So they should have been more involved.
Now, Professor John Azumah is the executive director of the Sani Institute, and he describes what is going on in Bawku as a symptom of a deeper malaise in Ghana's law enforcement agencies. Is this something that you also observe? Because you bring in the military angle. Military, we're told, shooting at the citizenry, and the citizenry in return also shooting at the military. Depending on, in fact, whose accounts you listen to, you hear different scenarios or different accounts of what has happened. Do you agree with what Professor Azumah is saying, for example, that this is a deeper malaise? We have to go deeper into the issue of our enforcement agencies and the mandate that they've been given?
Well, no, I agree with Prof. Azumah 100%. And I say I agree with Prof. Azumah 100%, even though I haven't listened to his statement, apart from the quotes you just made.
Yes. And in fact, he's speaking on authority because he undertook a 1-week fact-finding visit to Bawku towards the end of last year. He also met with chiefs and opinion leaders and youth groups. So he's coming with some practical knowledge, having been in the area.
Like I said, you see, I agree 100% with Prof. Azumah. It is also a failure when you want to talk about the criminal justice delivery system in Bawku and the happenings in Bawku. I in some write-ups and commentary, I have said that it would have been good to have a specialized court for Bawku, because first of all, the judges who are in Tamale and in Bogatanga, excuse me to say, sometimes don't have a deeper understanding of what is going on in Bawku.
Why do you say so?
Police, yes, because the police would arrest the guys and they bring them in, or the military would arrest and pass them on to the police. The police would take them to, the courts. And the next thing, they've been released, court bail. And the next thing, they find themselves back into the conflict again, and they are the people leading. And you know what is going on? When a bandit, a criminal is arrested and taken to court, and eventually the person is given bail, and the person comes. Are you aware that they organize a big party, a welcome party, and the person's photos are shared everywhere as a hero?
I see.
Oh, yes. The person who probably has been involved in the carnage in Bawku, the person is arrested, and the person is taken to Bogatanga or Tamale for prosecution, for conviction, and eventually the person is granted bail. The person comes back into the community, and there is a big carnival to welcome such persons once they are coming. So you tell me, you see, in the act of war, these things, it is almost like saying you are a hero. What you did, you are a hero. And so other young ones who are watching or others who are watching along the side would want to do the same thing or even do worse. Because if I do it, chances are that if I get arrested and I'm released, they are going to throw a big party for me. My photos will be on billboards. My photos will be there in welcoming me. So I say that it has to be a joint effort. And that is why I said the criminal justice delivery system.
Yeah.
The criminal justice delivery system does not start and end with a law enforcement agency.
In fact, interestingly, Dr. Adam Bonaa, yourself and Professor Azuma seem to be thinking on very similar lines, because I'll read from one of his write-ups here what he said, which actually buttresses your point. And he says, now we live in a country where lawbreakers who are well connected politically are provided with protection rather than prosecution. He says it is these actions and inactions by the security forces, along with the culture of impunity and what he describes as selective justice, that poses a serious national security threat. I think you are both speaking on the same lines.
Exactly. Because the guy is arrested. The next thing, somebody who is living in Accra pays money to get lawyers to make sure, or call the police or call somebody to say, oh, person, please release him for us. If you don't release him, and they use a lot of blackmail tactics.
Right.
If you don't release him, it's going to be worse. If you don't release him, it's going to be worse. And you see, the judges are humans, the police, they are humans. I mean, we are all humans. And so when these things, they begin to blackmail, you feel that, okay, when we release this person, maybe some semblance of peace would return. They release them, they go back, and if they were using pump action guns, they now go for, submachine guns, AK-47s and the rest.
Right.
And they are now firing at the military. And woe unto you if they suspect that you are with them and you leaked information to the security agencies. They will kill you and burn your home. Woe unto you. And what is happening is that even now, drivers who are driving into Bawku are afraid to actually be escorted. And that is how dangerous this whole thing is. They are afraid. Let's say if you were a Kusasi driver.
Right.
You are afraid, or a Mampusi driver. You are afraid to be escorted by the security agencies in entering Bawku or leaving Bawku, because they would identify you as someone who is carrying some infidels, carrying people who must not leave. And is the reason why they are providing you escorts. Therefore, as you leave the town, they will tell you don't come back to the town again. If you were being escorted into the town, when you enter the town, chances are that they will gun you down and burn your home. And that is how dangerous the situation is in Bawku. So Professor Azuma is 100% right. He's 100% right, because you see, the guy is arrested. And the next thing you see, he's released. Selectively, he's released.
Right.
You ask yourself, and recently, I think I shared that with your media journal. I shared it with your guys, I think last year. Some persons transported bullets, firearms, and other things, and they were arrested by the police. Some of us kept asking questions. What has happened? What has happened? What has happened? If you ask me, if I know how this thing happened, at the end results of that, I'll tell you I don't know.
In fact,
But
are you
I know
referring
that
to April 20th last year? Some Mamprisi young men were apprehended by some locals, and they had some weapons on them. They were ambushed. They were headed to Garu. They were handed over to the police. All of this caught on video. Now, calls were intercepted from the Nalerigu Palace, and what we know around that time, or what we were told around that time, is some MPP party officials also gave some pressure to the police to release these young men. The culprits were eventually let go.
Okay, so you have the evidence. So mine is that without mentioning Kusasi, Mamprosi, it is happening from both sides. So a Kusasi man is arrested. The next thing you see, there's pressure. The person should be released.
Right.
A Mamprosi man is arrested. There's pressure. He's one of us. And because sometimes, unfortunately, the courts don't want to be seen to be taking sides, they sometimes, as humans as they are, they, fall and say, okay, it's all right, let's grant them bail. And then they are granted bail. And when they come back to the community, like I said, a big party, if the person, excuse me to say, had one girlfriend, the person almost immediately gets like 4 or 5 girlfriends. So tell me, if other young men who are watching will not want to do worse things than what the other person did and was arrested and probably released on bail and then, celebrated as a hero when the person came back to the community. And this is what is, if, for instance, these persons who get arrested are forbidden by the courts, and you are told that you are persona non grata within the entire Bawku municipality, you cannot go into Bawku until your case is finished. Probably that is why I'm saying that the law courts, we must have a special court for this. Because then, if they have a clear understanding and they know what is going on the ground, that way, if you are caught from Bawku, you are caught in Bawku, and you are sent to Tamale, and you are told that, well, we'll grant you bail. But you see, we are going to wear you a tag. We will put a tag on you, an electronic tagging system on your leg, where you cannot leave Tamale, municipal or Tamale, the city. You can't leave Tamale, or Bogatanga, you can't leave. If you cross, we will know. And when you cross and we get you, your case, as for you are going to jail. That way, those who are in Bawku and will want to do the same will know. I will not want a situation where I will be caught and I'll be almost banished from going back to Bawku. But we can actually have a way to make sure that those who are caught and granted bail, they don't find their way back into Bawku. Other countries have done that.
Right.
Other countries have done that. We can do it. But we have allowed this thing to go on. And it's like I said, the president, he has how many months more to go? It's a scar, on him. Some of us are hoping that he will begin to call the shots, begin to see how things are going to work. Because the situation, let me tell you, as we go into the elections.
Right.
Note this down. As we go into the elections, if something drastic is not done, the situation will get much worse than we are seeing today. And the simple reason is that these combatants know what time it is. They know that around that time, there will be influx of politicians into the community. So they will make the situation worse. You see, as we speak, we've been talking about Bawku. Precious time. Bawku is very important.
Very important.
We are spending precious time discussing Bawku for how many days now? And not that they are killing game in maybe some game reserve, but they are killing human beings. And someone who probably had some mental challenges in Bawku Township, they accosted him and blasted him with about 10 bullets.
Goodness.
I'm telling you, this person doesn't even know where he is. The person has mental challenges in Bawku. They sprayed him with about 10 bullets. You ask security agencies in Bawku, what is that person's crime? Tell me what this person who is sick mentally, what has that person got to do with the nonsense that is going on? They sprayed him with about 10 AK-47 bullets.
A very dire situation indeed.
Yes. You ask yourself, what is going on that we cannot control? It's almost like Bawku is not part of Ghana. That's the way it looks. So for me, it's incumbent on the president, because the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, he would begin to call the shots. The people of Bawku, they live
That's
there.
Right.
They know how painful it is. The rest of us can only help to bring about peace in Bawku. But the president and the people of Bawku would have to do better than they are doing at the moment.
Dr. Adam Bonaa is a security analyst and giving us some much-needed insights into the issues happening in Bawku. Doc, very thankful for your time this morning and for giving us your perspective. The suggestion of intelligence gathering by nurses and such, I think, a step in the right direction. But I'm sure we'll be having some more engagements. The issues in Bawku not appearing to slow down anytime soon, unfortunately. But we're grateful for your time this morning.
Thank you, too.
Thank you. Again, that was Dr. Adam Bonaa, security analyst